I am a thinker, and something I think about a lot is the comparisons between different ventures of life and how you can use the knowledge you gain in certain ventures to benefit you in others. For example, if you're somebody who's mastered the gym, you can use those same lessons to master making money. And my archetype as a person, everybody has their own, but mine, after a lot of self-analyzation and studying my own behavior, is that I think. I am the thinking archetype. Not saying that to brag, because no archetype is better than the other, but that is my strength. And that is why I put my phone in front of my face, and I'm going to give you guys my collection of thoughts based on other people's tens and hundreds of years of research that I've learned in this past week to convey what I've put together from that to you guys. Basically, my goal with this channel and my goal in this video specifically is to give you guys the most condensed form of information possible from everything that I've researched. And today's topic is about treating anything you want to accomplish like a sport. And this goes much deeper than the surface level of what you may think, so please pay attention. And if you're somebody who likes to grow, please follow my channel and take as many notes as possible. Getting into the lesson, first and foremost, something that I think about in my life is improvement all of the time. And I think as a man, that's something that you need to have. You need to always improve. Because I've noticed when you're not improving, you are actively dying at a faster pace than you could ever imagine. When you take a break from your mission, when you take a break from work to scroll, or to do something that's not pushing you forward, to play a video game, I don't think most people are conscious enough to understand exactly how much that regresses them. I genuinely believe it's almost tenfold of the progress you make. For example, if you work for 10 hours straight, researching a subject, getting into a flow state of learning, but then for half an hour at the end of the night, you go back into your former state of consciousness, and maybe fuck off and play a YouTube video that's not productive or play a video game, you can negate almost all of that progress you made. And here's what you have to understand, that your progress was not only the knowledge. You're not gonna forget everything you learned in that day based off of 30 minutes of taking your mind off of it. But what you will lack is the being. The knowledge is only one part, the work is only one part. There's the work, there's the thought, and there's the feeling. You don't necessarily lose the work that you put in, but you do lose your being and your feeling, because your body is constantly in a survival mode. The human body is meant to survive. And when your body and your mind and your physical and mental states go through changes, that takes work. That takes work on your nervous system and your brain wiring. Unnecessary work according to your subconscious brain, because you live a comfortable life already. Why does your brain gonna want to change and do all the work and spend all the literal calories it takes your brain to rewire itself? Why is your brain gonna want to do that unless that is the only option? You have to pin your brain between a rock and a hard place. In any space you give it, it will escape. Think about it like trying to tackle somebody who rubbed themselves in butter. As gay as that sounds, rub themselves in butter, and they're one of the fastest, jumpiest people on the planet. Your brain is like a team of people that are trying their absolute hardest to track that person down. You could literally spend all day trying to do that, pinning them into a corner. And then you spend that 30 minutes taking a little rest, getting your mind off of it, and boom. Now that person is gone. You don't even know where they are. Now you have to relocate them and start from square one. So not only the knowledge is important, but it's also your feeling behind the subject and what you're willing to do, the work you're willing to continue to put in. And what I just explained to you can simply be put into one word: the mastery of momentum. Momentum. One of the most important skills when learning a sport or when learning absolutely anything. And something that's funny, this is not something I plan to add to the video, but a caveat. As soon as I was saying that, I don't know if you noticed a slight switch in camera angle, my phone ran out of storage. Only because I left a big ass video in there. Clear the problem instantly. But it killed my momentum. I had to sit for 10 minutes to get back to the flow state that I was in so I could come back and bring this video to you how it's supposed to be made. I just had to do that. And if I wouldn't have told you, hopefully you wouldn't have even been able to notice, because I built back that momentum. But the point is, it took time and it wasted time. And that's a microcosm for how it works in the real world learning absolutely anything. Do not break momentum at all costs. And I swear to you, that was not planned. Anyways, Now it's time for me to tie it into something that we can all understand, sports. And you may say, oh, it's not exactly the same for sports. Yes, it is. Shut up. That is your ego trying to keep you comfortable. And I say it like that because it's funny, okay? I'm not trying to be egotistical and cocky, but you guys understand the point. Laugh a little bit. Laughing is good. Anyways, getting back to the point. We're going to use football as an example. And we're going to use somebody who's mastered the game, in his own words. That's Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a household name. Tom Brady is known for his dominance, but not only his dominance, but his work ethic and his unequivocal mindset to get better every single day. One of the only football players ever to defy the clock. This man played up until he was 46 years old and was arguably at the top of his game, the best play he ever had. Late in his career, after he turned 40, he had a Hall of Fame career. If you just took his games from when he turned 40 to when he retired, his own Hall of Fame career in that time slot. But why? What is something that Tom Brady uses that the rest of the NFL didn't? And that one thing is his inner being and his heart, which ties directly into momentum. Tom Brady's inner being could only be fulfilled if he was getting better at the game of football. His soul could only be fulfilled if he was spending hours and hours and hours a day, longer than anybody else, at getting good at football. Total mastery of the game takes thousands and thousands and thousands of hours to achieve. There's so many dynamics that go into it. And Tom Brady, even working the hardest he possibly could for 20 years. He played football from when he was 20 at the University of Michigan on the biggest stage of them all, the biggest stadium in the country, all the way up until he was 40. And he said in an interview that he didn't master the game until his mid-40s. Until his last few years of his playing career, that's when he mastered the game. 25 years of the hardest work ethic and a soul that took constant work to actually fulfill himself. It took over 20 years for him to master the game. Now imagine how long it would have taken him if he would have stopped his momentum. See, when you get up in the morning, maybe you're starting a business. When you get up in the morning, yes, maybe you can work for 3 to 4 hours and then go to the gym and then come back and work even more. But it gets to a point where you say, okay, boom, okay, maybe I've worked enough for today. And you maybe even only take an hour before bed off, and you take your mind off of it. When you wake up the next morning, you wake up back at that original state. You have to start from square one. Now, I'm not saying you have to work every waking hour of the day. Everybody's different. Some people may need close to that. But what I am saying is that the momentum you build needs to be capitalized upon, just like playing a sport. When it comes to business, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to improvement in absolutely anything. This could work for a relationship. Maybe you're a 40-year-old guy, you're in a relationship, you're about to get divorced. This mindset is something that could actually fix it, that could actually help you. You need to have the mindset of constant capitalization and constant building, and you will not be able to sleep correctly if you do not have this. If your soul wants you to go make money so you can provide for your family, that's the archetype of person you are, and you go to bed, and the last thing you were thinking about for the last hour is video games and Fortnite and all that bullshit, right? Are you going to sleep well? No. And when you're disappointed in yourself, your flow state is broken. You cannot put yourself at a negative vibration like disappointment and expect momentum to be fulfilled. So when you have these mishaps, because nobody's perfect, you have to get right back on your horse and keep going. And keep going. That's why I'm very intentional about when I misspeak. You guys hear that a lot in my videos because I do not pause and rethink and then get back. That's like taking a take two. I do not do that. I misspeak and I quickly get right back on my horse and correct myself and say the right word. And I do not break my flow state when I do that. I'm very intentional about that. And I noticed I'm one of the only YouTubers that does that. A lot of YouTubers, they'll talk perfectly, they won't stutter. Nobody talks to a camera for 15 minutes and doesn't stutter. That's why when you watch these YouTube videos, by minute 7, minute 8, minute 10, they start to feel boring and bland. You get that influx of information, boom, 5, 6, 7 minutes in. You get that influx of information. But when people start to fuck up when they're instructing people, they start to take a break. They take 30 seconds. Okay, boom, restart from where I fucked up at. And then their mode and their psyche and their momentum is broken. They're out of that flow state, and their being isn't charged enough in that moment to relay that information to you guys. So all in all, momentum in sport and momentum in absolutely anything is vital. And if you really want to improve, you really, really want to get better at things, you want to get into that flow state, this YouTube video, yeah, that can help you. But what you really need to do is study the greats. You study the greats of all time at different things. If you want to get good at public speaking, hate him or love him, go study Donald Trump. You want to get good at business, marketing, you can go study someone like Tom Brady, who mastered his craft. And you can translate that and master your own. Arnold Schwarzenegger was great at bodybuilding, one of the founding fathers of the golden age of bodybuilding. Go study him. Go study the greats. Apply that logic from sport. Apply that logic from the game of life and transition it and transmute it to your being and see how that relates to you within yourself. Then you will exponentially grow at anything you do. But the one thing I left to the end of the video, the one caveat that you guys have to understand is that this only works. You can only transmute this information and relay it to yourself if you truly know yourself and have true unity within your own soul. True unity within your own soul. And the way you achieve that, I could go for an hour on. Unity on your soul. That's something I still work on. Knowing thyself. Truly. If you want to learn more about that, I have videos about that on my channel. But the information I gave you today should be plenty for you to at least get a jump start, to at least become consciously incompetent in the idea of momentum and working and getting better. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you like these style of videos where I come out here, I give you the information, I spit the game, I don't charge you any money, boom, 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 support my channel, because one day you'll be able to say, hey, I knew that guy before he blew up, because real information always wins. Thank you guys for watching. Go apply the knowledge and go do something productive with your day. Thank you.